Welcome to this month's episode of Beachside Chat. I'm your host, John W. Coffey. Thank you for watching last month and all the feedback we've got. This month we have a really great episode lined up. We have to my right, Public Works Director Todd Scaldo, and to his right, Public Works Grounds Supervisor Quincy Smith. Gentlemen, for those folks new to IHB, please introduce yourselves to our viewers.
Thank you, John. My name is Todd Scaldo. I'm the Public Works Director for the City of Indian Harbor Beach. I was born and raised here in Indian Harbor Beach, 62 years and going strong. I also have education. I have roots here. I graduated from Ocean Breeze Elementary School. Then I went to Hoover Junior High, Satellite High School, go Scorps. And then I went to Brevard Community College, and then I did a University of North Florida for 4 years and got my degree in political science. I was also a volunteer firefighter for 35 plus years. 19 of those years were fire chief, and as of 2024, I have retired. I've been working for the city also for 34 years, going on 34, and still director of Public Works, and hopefully I'll be here a couple more years or several years depending on how things go, but we're making a lot of progress here and I appreciate it.
Hey, and good afternoon, John, and to the viewers at home. My name is Quincy Smith, for those of you that I have not met yet. Originally born and raised in the Bahamas. I've been in public service for 21 years this year. I have been in Florida since 2008. I'm a licensed horticulturist and herbicide technician. I've been with the City of Indian Harbor Beach just over 1 year now. And I've answered a lot of questions for other folks in the past about their plants and stuff. So if there's anybody in the city that has any question about herbicides or pesticides of their plants or fertilizer, please always feel free to reach out to me in Public Works or just stop out and say hi in the park.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. One of the things I think our viewers will probably be very interested in hearing is a little about all the improvements that folks have been seeing at Gleason Park recently. I know you two and your staff have been out there doing a lot of work. Can you share with our viewers some of the improvements and the reasons behind them?
First, I would like to maybe give a little bit of a history of Gleason Park, of how that became Gleason Park. Back in the day when I was growing up, it was usually we called it Hidden Lake. At that time, you couldn't see the lake from Yacht Club Boulevard or South Patrick Drive. It was pretty much all wooded areas, but it was well known among a lot of the local kids and some of the residents that lived along that road at that time. The best that we could figure that the pond was actually dug out was probably late 50s, early 60s, when they were probably developing South Patrick Drive. At that time, it was only a 2-lane highway from O'Galley all the way up to Patrick Air Force Base. That's what it was back then before it became Patrick Space Force Base. So that's when we think it was dug out for materials and stuff like that for the roads. But over time, it became a place where a lot of kids would venture into it and play around, have forts and stuff like that. It also became a dumping site from residents dumping yard waste and stuff like that back there. But usually about in the late 90s, when City Manager Jackie Burns was the city manager at that time, had a decision to make back then to decide to either sell the property and make it more housing or also make it a public park. And it was also funded, she got funding from the National Park Service of Florida, and also it came through the Department of Environmental Protection Agency also was a part of the funding that was partially funded for the park, and then the city put the other part up at that time. So that's how it came about at that time, and now we have Gleason Park. So that's kind of just a real brief of how Gleason became Gleason Park, but that's where we're at right now.
Quincy, would you like to elaborate on some of the work being done over there right now?
Sure, yeah. So a lot of you have seen us working in the park on the restoration of the native habitat over there, and it is not the destruction of the native habitat. So a lot of you would approach us with your concerns and comments, and we do take all of those into consideration. So in 2020, Public Works decided that they wanted to restore a lot of the native habitat over there and take out a lot of the pepper trees over there. And as part of that continuing work in there, we removed all the pepper trees, the other invasives such as carrotwood and shuffleras, and we're starting the restoration phase of it this year. So that would be putting back your bay trees and your oak trees and your pine trees and a lot of the native ground cover. Like Todd said, at one point it was used, to dump yard waste and debris. So we are continuing to remove that as we find that in there. We are replanting all of the native ground cover that provide food, a good food source for the native bunnies and the moles and the skunks that are in there. A lot of you, sometimes you see them, sometimes you don't, but there are a lot of native small wildlife that do still habitat that area. And part of the reestablishing on that side, we would like to put in some benches and a new pathway on that side, which we have already have finished and established. So going forward, you're going to see a lot of the new improvements that we're working on in there.
We also added a butterfly garden. If you haven't seen that, that's on the east side, northeast side of the park, with a partnership with the Indian Harbor Beach Garden Club, which has turned out really, really good. We've done a lot of things in there, and they've done a great job as far as the plants and everything. And we've seen quite a few different types of butterflies flying around in the park, which is kind of nice to see. It's a nice little touch. We also did a lot of clearing out in the middle of the park as well for walking trails. Quincy, with some of the public works crews and myself, we've done a lot of cleaning out where people can walk through the park now and get a little bit more nature and see stuff that they probably haven't seen from the outside. So we're doing a lot of that. We also have a new bathroom that we installed there that was a big request because of the playground units that we had there. We had a request to do that because we had families coming in and had 3 or 4 kids. It was always hard to go to the rec center with all the kids, at the same time. At least this was a shorter distance where they could be a little bit more convenience about going and using the facility as well. We also added a new playground unit there. We're replacing the old stuff. We're making the new stuff more recyclable plastic structures so they last longer. A lot of the wood structure and some of the metal, obviously metal rusts, and that becomes an issue, a safety issue, as well as the wood. The wood rots out with termites, carpenter ants, and stuff like that. So we're slowly replacing a lot of that with this recyclable plastic that we're using, and it's holding up pretty well. So we're going to continue to do that. If you also notice, we have put up a new pavilion by the boardwalk area. We're replacing all the pavilions in the park over time. Right now, the one by the boardwalk is complete. We're working on the one on the north end of the pond right now. So that should be completed by probably the next couple of months. We'll have that done. So we're working on that as well. The last thing, one other thing too, we also added a sprinkler system on the east side of the park to help with some of the vegetation that we have. We don't have much of a water system over there, so we did that to help that. Even though we just recently had a hard freeze, a lot of the trees and stuff took a pretty good hit, but we're anticipating hopefully that they'll recover. Some of them may not recover. It just depends on how bad they were damaged at that time. And the last thing I'd like to say is we added a new, and we're still continue working on, is a veteran memorial area, which is on the west side of the pond area. And you may see that we've installed a pedestal as well as a concrete eagle there. And we just recently added a flagpole there. So we're looking to do a few other things there as we progress on. But again, when we have time to do that, right now we're working on the other parks as well. So you'll continue to see improvements and stuff as we go along. But don't be afraid, like Quincy said. Stop by, say hello. If you have questions, by all means, we're willing to help and answer those questions the best that we can. And if I don't have the answers, we'll try to get you the answers. And then you can revisit when we're out there, then please, we'll try to give you the information. So that's pretty much it as far as the improvements, recent improvements.
One thing that I've learned since I've been here working with Quincy and Todd is what gopher tortoises eat and what they shouldn't eat. Can you gentlemen tell our viewers what are some of the no-nos that can actually hurt the gopher tortoises out of good intentions?
So gopher tortoises are herbivores, and peanuts, anything that has seed oils in it are a no-no, and they would normally try a lot of stuff. So people do mean well. So stuff like pumpkins and watermelon that have seeds in it, if they consume those seeds, they do not have the ability to digest it, and it would turn into a hard mass in their digestive system, which would give them complications in the city. So we know people mean well, but we would ask you to kindly please not feed the gopher tortoises. And if you do, don't give them anything that has seeds in it, like peanuts or nuts, watermelon, pumpkins. After Halloween, I saw a few pumpkins and stuff in the park. So we would kindly appreciate it if you not feed the wildlife.
I remember first time Quincy told me nuts are bad for gopher tortoises, and I told him, I said, but I have to go over to the park to inspect it once in a while. And he said, peanuts, not city manager nuts. So with that, gentlemen, can you tell our viewers some of the future improvements you two have planned for Gleason Park?
We're constantly moving forward with new stuff in there. We're looking at probably another smaller playground in the future for the little kids that are over more or less towards the butterfly. So that's ongoing. And we're going to be adding, obviously, like Quincy said, we'll be putting in more vegetation, hopefully, to replace native trees, try to establish a lot more of the big pine trees that are in there, as well as a lot of the oak trees and some of the palm trees as well. So he might be able to elaborate a little bit more, but that's kind of what the future looks. And we're always improving stuff as well. So we're trying to upgrade stuff so it'll last a lot longer. The bottom line, basically, by upgrading, maintenance becomes a lot more easier and not as often as what we used to do in the past, because a lot of stuff we used to do was made out of wood, and over time, being on the beach, everybody knows the salt air takes a beating on a lot of things as well as metal. So again, we're doing everything we can to upgrade and turn more or less to the recyclable plastic composites of building stuff. So that's what we're intent on doing.
Thank you, Todd, for that update and going forward. And you know, the one thing I'd like to just remind our viewers is for those who have moved into the city in the last 10 years, you truly missed knowing Jackie Burns, who was city manager in the late 90s, early 2000s. Her legacy is not only Gleason Park, but all throughout this community. And I know, Todd, you worked every day to uphold and build upon her vision of Gleason Park. So I appreciate what you and Quincy do. And Quincy, we appreciate all you have brought to the city. It seems like you've been here a long time, but you've just been here a little over a year, and you're an integral part that we hope to keep in our family for a long time. So with that, next month, my guest will be Fire Marshal and Code Enforcement Officer Linda Johnson, who will be here to share fire safety measures and explain how our city code enforcement works. So with that, thank you for watching. Together, IHB cannot fail.
Thank you.
Thank you.